Right on. Okay, next up, Chris Heuer, who just launched his company Aligned, which is, yeah.
You can't eat your pudding if you don't eat your meat. How can you eat your pudding if you don't eat your meat? Anyways, for those of you who actually know Pink Floyd,
Here, Chris, take a microphone.
the world in which I'm speaking. And the world in which I'm speaking is a world in which institutions control you. In a world in which there are people who are above you. Not the world that we're in today, where we are peers and where we respect each other, but it's a world in which authority matters. It's a world in which people control you. It's a world where you report to somebody. It's not a world in which you actually work together and you have mutual respect. We see a different world. For those of you who know me, I started something called Social Media Club a number of years ago. And this new world is what we're working towards right now with the future of work. I've spent the last year and a half working on a new platform that helps change how you work with each other, that actually helps you earn the reputation you deserve, that's based on a world in which we respect each other and we have self-management. We essentially know what we're doing and we actually do it. Sorry for the theatrics. I was trying to make a bigger point underlying what it is that we're talking about. I wanted to actually ask you before we get underway too far, who's in the audience? It seems there's a few engineers. There's been some smart engineering questions, as the case may be. Who's an engineer in the audience? Right, okay, a couple of people. Who's worked inside of a big company? Anyone worked in? Oh, a lot of people in a big company. You'll empathize with what I'm about to share with you. Who's a startup founder? Okay, so a good mix across all three. I have a SaaS-based platform. Ultimately, our business model is based on making money by charging people monthly fees for every user that uses it. We're currently just in alpha. We literally launched last week. We've just invited in a few hundred people off the alpha list so far. And what we are actually focusing on here is a company called Aligned. Aligned helps people get aligned with one another. It's actually focused on people, not projects, not the technology, but around on us. And how do we work more effectively together? In fact, how do we work smarter together? At the beginning of the knowledge economy back in the late 90s or mid 90s, depending on where you want to start it, I realized that the company's ability to create value was based on how do you enable smart people to work well together? How do you actually create value in a different way? That ultimately, well, the 15 years since, has resulted in this product called Aligned, which is about collaboration with accountability. And what I realized is that your reputation is actually a function of the collaboration you do with other people. How well do you work together? Do you actually deliver on what you've promised? Can you actually have the ability that you claim? Do you have integrity? And ultimately, what this is about building a reputation. But it's about building a reputation in more of a natural process of how successful teams work together. The bottom line is that the way institutions work, and the reason for all the theatrics and the bullshit, is that the way we're working isn't working. The institutions that have served us are no longer serving us. That's why peer-to-peer is so important. That's why the collaborative economy is emerging. That's why we have a different model of working in agile teams. In many ways, what I'm doing is actually about bringing agile methodologies to traditional knowledge work, to everyone else. And when you look at actually the numbers behind what we're dealing with, it's astounding. The cost alone is just monumental. I mean, literally $150 billion in IT waste from failed projects. But it's more than that. It's not just about those IT projects. What about business process transformation? What about marketing campaigns that don't work? What about the unrecognized emotional toll that this failure puts on each of us that makes us all feel like shit? That makes us all like go, who is this asshole that I'm working for? It doesn't work anymore. We have to find a different way. And what it comes down to really is understanding that what we really need isn't about, some better manager. No, we need more leadership. We need more respect. But what we're trying to provide with Aligned is about accountability, balance, and clarity. And that's what we facilitate inside our program, inside the SaaS software that we provide. And the ultimate realization behind it is really that the atomic unit of collaboration is the commitment. And when we keep our commitments with one another, that's what creates trust. So with Aligned, what we actually do is we build clarity and understanding between people so that we can be on the same page. We ultimately enable people to track their commitments and create accountability with one another by connecting it with your reputation. And we actually work on recognizing performance in real time, not on an annual review, not on a semi-annual review, but on every commitment delivered. And in that way, building your professional reputation. There's a lot of different places where we can use it, but since I'm running out of time, what I just want to do is switch really quickly, hopefully, into showing you the application, because it actually works. And when you bootstrap something, as you know, for a year, it's very impressive to actually make it work. And what we've done is we've created this sort of natural process for how people work together. And the process is really based on a very fundamental concept. It's based on a concept of making requests of each other, keeping our commitments, and delivering on results. If you've actually read the book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, or you've studied any of the literature around management and collaboration, this will be intimately familiar with you. It all works. I don't want to keep going. I can drone on. I'm out of time. I'm happy to show you a demo. We currently have an alpha list up. The reason why I'm here is because I've been friends with Miles for a very long time. Thank you very much, Miles. If Diane's not here yet, Diane was on my advisory board 15 years ago for one of my companies. I've been doing this for 20 years. This here is a culmination of decades worth of work, and I'm just blessed to be able to present it to you for the first time in San Francisco, and I'm happy to show you more. I'm looking for top-notch engineers and rock stars and funding and all that other fun stuff, and please sign up on the alpha list at align.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. I kind of put him on the spot tonight. He was just here to hang out, and now he's on stage sweating it.
Drinking shots with Miles, yes.
Yeah, I'm proud of you. So questions for Chris? Yes.
LinkedIn or your professional? I'm done.
So it's really interesting in that regards. First of all, I'm really a huge backer of the open web concept and APIs. The social graph's already established, so right now, if you go to the homepage, and I'll just sign out, we've enabled single sign-on with LinkedIn. We're working to integrate with Google Apps. We'll integrate with Outlook. We'll ultimately integrate with Chatter and everything else that's out there. What we see as where we can be different is connecting performance, what we actually do, keeping our commitments, with performance management and reputation. So in that sense, our goal is really about helping you track the commitments that people make to you and that you make to other people. And in that way, creating a context for collaboration that to me is the most important thing. Do you keep your word? Are you a person of integrity? Do you have the ability to back up what you promise you can do? But to the integration point, my hope is to integrate with everything.
How do you differentiate yourself from, say, Asana and some of the other collaboration tool in the back, right over here?
Thank you. There's a lot of social collaboration software emerging these days. And I certainly have a lot of respect for what Dustin's doing with Asana and for what's happening at Trello. And when you looked at the app earlier, you probably saw a little bit of Kanban for those of you who are engineers inside of it. We're trying to take those concepts to a more mass audience, to like average everyday people. Where we ultimately differentiate is this idea of the mutual respect, which is why I wanted to do the whole Pink Floyd drama up front, because that reminded me of this teacher speaking down to you, as opposed to us talking with each other. If you look back to the beginning of Barcamp and the whole movement of Web 2.0 and the peer-to-peer and collaborative economy, it's about this idea that we are all in it together. And so where we start to differentiate with other solutions is we actually ask, don't task. Fred Wilson said that email is a to-do list given to you by other people. One of the biggest complaints I've heard about social collaboration tools is that people come in on Monday morning and they've been assigned 30 things to do that totally screws up their week. So what we actually do differently inside of the application, and actually I should probably just do a LinkedIn sign in and show you mine instead, is we actually make requests. We don't tell people what they have to do. We ask, can you do this for me by this date? So in that way, what we do first up is that we're actually based in a fundamental principle around respect for other human beings. And then secondarily, what we do really differently is we connect your professional reputation with the work you do with others. And in this way, we actually have an evidence-based reputation, not just on saying, hey, Christy, who's my wife, who's sitting here right now, how do you think I am at digital marketing? Well, she thinks I'm great. Why would I ask anyone who thinks I'm bad to give me a reputation review on a skill that I have? Instead, when we look at it in the context that we've created, where we're looking at working inside of a team, with the coffee club or whatever it is, when I'm actually connecting the work that I did for somebody with my performance review, with my public reputation, that's uniquely different. What we also do differently on that, and I won't get into this in too much detail, but I talk about the stars and flags problem. Those of you who work in Gmail or Outlook or anything else know that your email inbox, when that's a primary version of collaboration, you'll star or flag something, and that's how you know to go back to it. What we've actually identified is a very natural way that people work together. When you make requests, you have things that need clarity. You have to negotiate it. People sometimes refuse them. So what we do is we actually create this framework for collaboration that helps people get and stay on the same page. When we look at the commitments we make, we look at the commitments we make to other people and that they make to us. We look at the questions that arose inside that collaboration. We look at the change requests. We've really identified these very basic ways of working together that ultimately makes it easier for people to understand each other and to work together. And that's where I think we are vastly different than the current crop of social collaboration.
Quick question.
Yes.
Have you given any consideration to a potential chilling effect of people using this, being afraid of negative marks on their reputation if they happen to screw up, since nobody's perfect and screw-ups are bound to happen? Yeah,
and that's actually why on things like when we deliver reviews, the key question on the review, and let me see if I have any here that, oh shoot, I don't have any right now. So when you get reviewed, there's two key questions we ask. Did you do it on time, and did you do it to the quality you expect? Now, we could automatically track whether or not you delivered it by the timestamp, right? But the reality is you may have had a conversation that, hey, I don't need it at 5 o'clock today, you can send it to me tomorrow. So we allow for this sort of human condition of the subjectiveness behind it. So we do allow for the world that is real versus that, prescriptive world that we look at. The chilling effect that you talk about is actually a warming effect for other people. I think of it like tennis, right? I play tennis with people who suck, and friggin' balls are going everywhere, right? If I play tennis with somebody who's better than me, they make it in more often, right? So ultimately, it's this rising tide sort of concept behind it. But there's still this other problem. And the other problem is that some people just aren't that good. And the reality is, for me, I want to work with good people. I don't want to work with people who suck. I don't know about you guys, but how many people have you had on a team where they just sucked and they didn't deliver on time and you had to work extra hard to cover their ass? That's bullshit. We shouldn't have to put up with that. So what I've actually designed with Aligned is a system that doesn't make you have to call bullshit on them, but that creates an audit trail behind what people actually did and when they did it. So you don't have to point to like, hey, the reason why I'm late is because David messed up. The manager, whoever cares about it, can actually see David didn't respond to your question. David didn't deliver on time. So I don't need to be the asshole who points fingers at people. It just creates this system of accountability that ultimately makes everyone better. And the promise of it, or at least the goal in my mind as I look at this, we're taking checks from companies or from clients. We need to deliver on what we promised in exchange for that money. And so, yes, there are people who are slackers and they're not doing it. We shouldn't have to be penalized for that. It's a deeper philosophical conversation, obviously. Happy to talk to you more, and we can do shots later, and I'll tell you all sorts of crazy stories about my experiences that led to that, right? But I'm out of time, I'm sure. So thank you very much.
Cool. Awesome.